Hi, and good morning, and welcome to our official launch for the second edition of our Circular by Design Challenge. My name is Mark Liss. I'm the Creative Industries Cluster Manager here at Luxinnovation, and I'm joined by my colleague, Anja Höttger. We both will be guiding you through the webinar today. So it's a real pleasure to welcome you all, and I think we're going to have fun. We have a big program scheduled ahead with speeches and with the agenda, which we will show you now to talk you through it. And before I do that, I know most of you will have now experience in participating at webinars, but just maybe explaining this tool very, very quickly. So we are currently on stage together with Anja. Then you have the presentation slide that you can see on the left-hand side of your screen. You have a chat function, which you can use, and you can type in your message, for instance, saying, good morning, hello. So I'm already seeing messages, hello from London, good morning from Lisbon. So very international. Taipei is joining us as well. So thanks for being with us today. Hello from Melbourne. And the next tab on your right is the questions tab. So that can be used afterwards if you have questions during our Q&A sessions. And then you have the People's tab. And the People's tab, you will see the participants that are here in this webinar. For the questions tab, maybe one more precision. It's that if a question is being asked that you like, by liking it, it will actually pop up to the top of the list, so we can pick out the question that most people would like to have an answer to. So going through the presentation, we talked about Livestorm and how you can use this tool. Keep seeing messages coming in, so great, people are using the chat function, which is super. Before I pass over to the Minister of the Economy, Frans Fayo, with his welcome address, here a quick overview of what we have in store for you today. So after the welcome address, we'll be joined by Dr. Leila Ajarolu, founder of Disruptive Design and the School, for her keynote speech. Afterwards, we'll have a 10-minute Q&A with her, so you can ask your questions then. Very much looking forward to that keynote speech. Then we'll briefly talk about the challenge and create a bridge between the first edition and the second edition, where we'll bring two participants from our first cohort on stage in the shape of Philip Westerlund, CEO of Our Choice, who produced the first circular sneakers and participated in the program last year, and Marco Klucker, founder of Capriola, who is also a participant. So they'll be sharing their return of experiences and giving us an update on where they are currently with their projects. Then we'll continue with by handing over to my colleague, Anja, who will talk to you about the second edition and give you the project description in more detail. Then we'll introduce the partners and the various challenges in the 5 categories we have put together for you. We'll introduce the jury. We have a wide array of skills and partners that are joining us for the jury, national, international jury members. And then we'll have a chat with the chair of the jury, Professor Martin Charter, who's helped us set up the project from the day one, let's say, for the first edition, and who was also the chair of the jury for the first edition. So thankful that he's joining us again, and he's continuous part of this project. And then we'll have a Q&A with partners and the jury members just before handing over to our CEO, Sasha Bailey, who will actually then cut the virtual ribbon, let's say, and launch the competition officially and give you the details of where you can actually then find information and apply and submit your ideas for this challenge. So without further ado, I will leave the floor for the Minister of the Economy, Frans Fayo, with his welcome address.
Dear guests, welcome to the second edition of the Circular by Design Challenge. The green transition is a key priority for Luxembourg. Moving from the traditional take, make, waste approach to a circular economy is necessary to succeed in this transition. This requires designing new products and processes with a circular perspective at the very center of the process. New innovative solutions are needed across all economic sectors. The creative industries have a great potential to contribute with solutions and innovative ideas. This is the reason why the Creative Cluster launched the Circular by Design Challenge under the impulse of the Ministry of the Economy. The first Circular by Design Challenge was launched in October 2020 as a pilot initiative with the aim of linking creative entrepreneurs with technology, manufacturing and traditional industry. The results were very positive. 10 creatives were admitted to the coaching program and had the opportunity to work on their circular ideas, together with experienced coaches and experts. At the end of the program, 5 winners were selected and awarded with partnership deals. Following this first successful experience, I am very happy to launch the second edition with you today. This time with a widened scope and increased ambitions. Indeed, instead of 10 participants in 4 categories, this time 15 participants will be accepted in 5 different categories, being sustainable cities, industry 4.0, fashion design, mobility, and nation branding. Also, there is a new digital dimension to the challenge, as candidates can propose solutions for circular service or product design, as well as digital solutions. On top of that, participation is open to creatives from all over Europe and not only Luxembourg. The challenge is further open to high school and university students with circular ideas. A tailor-made coaching program will be set up to support the 3 best ideas submitted. Finally, the number of industrial program partners has grown from 8 to an impressive 20, ensuring an even more diversified expertise. Dear guests, partners play a key role. They are the ones who define the 5 categories of the program in order to tailor them to their needs. They also offer partnership deals to the challenge winners at the end of the program in order to jointly implement the developed circular business ideas. The fact that all partners of the first edition have decided to join the program once again shows that the initiative is of real interest to the industry. Further, we are happy to welcome several new partners. The Ministry of the Economy is also stepping up its support to the program. We are convinced of its positive contribution to increasing the resilience and sustainability of the Luxembourg economy. This time, each winner of the challenge will receive a cash prize of €7,000, as well as the access to a 4-week virtual accelerator program provided by the US accelerator Generator. In addition to training in fields such as go-to-market strategy, business development, product market fit and fundraising, participants will also be invited to pitch their ideas to investors and get access to the Generator's network of mentors and investors. Besides the partnership deals, the winners will also get 6 months of free access to co-working office space offered by program partners. All of this provides winners with a solid platform for succeeding with their venture and for turning their ideas into sustainable businesses. Dear participants, as you can hear, we have high expectations for this new edition of the Circular by Design Challenge. I would like to encourage all creatives to submit their good ideas to the challenge and to compete for a place on the program. You have a great potential to contribute to a sustainable, circular future for all of us. I'm looking forward to discovering the winners of the second edition. Thank you and good luck to all of you.
Big thank you to the Minister of the Economy, Franz Fayou, for his welcome address. So you heard it, the project has grown, not just in support from the Ministry of the Economy, with cash prize, with an additional cash prize this year for the winners of the categories, but also in terms of scope. So we are at the European level, and the team has grown as well. So at this stage, a big thank you to all the colleagues at Luxinnovation that helped put this second edition together, but also to the partners that you'll meet later on during this webinar who have joined the project, as we are increasing in numbers on project partners as well. So we'll further dive into the challenge and the project partners in a moment and give you more details about that. Now it's time to welcome our keynote speaker, and it's with great pleasure that I invite Dr. Leila Ajarolu onto our virtual stage. Good morning, Leila, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to have you. As means of introduction, Leila is an award-winning designer who has developed a range of projects and incentives to help positive social and environmental change by design. You were named Champion of the Earth in 2016 by the UN Environment Program, and you have founded the Unschool of Disruptive Design. You're also part of the Change Maker campaign on LinkedIn to get into the conversation and have topics that are of importance and spread that word across that community. So it's great having you here today, and I'll leave the floor to you now, and very much looking forward to your keynote speech.
Amazing. Thank you. Well, I'm very happy to be here, and congratulations on such a fantastic initiative. I am pretty obsessed with innovation as a platform for enacting a positive designed future. And I think that there's lots of creative ideas out there. I'm sure many of you watching this have a bunch of them, and it's all about tapping into them and finding the opportunities for transformation that lie ahead for us. So I am a designer. I studied product design, and then I became a sociologist, and combined these skills to try and figure out how we can design a future that works better than today. As was mentioned, I run a design agency where we create interventions that help create transformative change. And I also run something which I love called the Unschool of Disruptive Design. It's an experimental knowledge lab where we help people think differently about the challenges that we face. And today I'm going to share with you some of the tools that you can apply to creative problem solving that will help you make transformative change. So I'm a big believer that with these three pillars, so systems thinking, sustainability sciences, and creative problem solving through design, we can come up with innovations that help address sustainability. But one of the big issues we have, and this is something that I think we still see, even though the debate and discussion around climate change has become more mature, is that sustainability is dramatically misunderstood. I think that there's still a lot of old ideas about what it means to be a participant in the world when it comes to social and environmental issues, and a lot of new myths that exist about what is good or bad for the planet. And so hopefully I can help you navigate some of that today by sharing some of the knowledge that I have around sustainability. So essentially, sustainability, as we use the term today, is based on this idea that came out in the 80s that we as a society should ensure that the decisions we make today don't negatively affect the ability for future generations to meet their needs. So it's about intergenerational equity. And fundamentally, it's about harmonizing the social, economic, and environmental decisions of the things that we do, rather than just prioritizing the economy, which is currently how it works. So we're really trying to navigate this complexity where everything that we have in our lives, whether it be the food we eat or the products we use, always comes from nature. Everything comes from nature, and eventually we'll have to return. The thing about sustainability is it provides a lot of parameters. We know that we live on one planet that has limits, and therefore those parameters can be used as platforms or like guidelines for innovation. So I truly believe that reframing sustainability and all it encompasses, being responding to the climate crisis, being the transition to the circular economy, being us being a regenerative force on the planet as an end goal. Ultimately, if you look at it through the lens of innovation and challenge, there are so many opportunities that present itself. Let's just take one of the challenges we know that we're facing right now, and that is, of course, climate change. Now, food, which we all participate in, is around about 20% of the overall environmental impact that each of us have on the planet. And one of the main reasons is because, of course, we have to take up a lot of land, we have to clear natural space, but we also put a lot of inputs into these agricultural settings, those inputs being synthetic fertilizers, and a lot of other chemicals and additions that ultimately run off into waterways and cause a lot of problems. Also, we created factory farms, which are pretty kind of uncool. And so one of the key strategies that we can all apply to help address our personal footprint is actually through meat reduction, which is a very controversial topic in some parts of the world. But it's not just about reducing your meat consumption. It's about understanding the full system that we participate in, because the impact on food is not just the food that we put into the system, it's also food waste. And food waste is a huge contributor to climate change as well. It's around about 8%. And the majority of our food waste comes from the household. And that's partly because of our consumption habits, and also information like use by dates, but it's also because of the refrigerator. I've always said this, like the crisper drawers, so-called crisper drawers, are not designed really effectively to keep things fresh. And so a lot of fresh produce ends up going limp or soggy and people throw it out. Now, the problem with that is that when an organic material ends up in a landfill or any anaerobic environment that's not managed, it creates methane, which is a 25 times more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. And whilst in some parts of the world, methane is tapped off landfills, or landfills don't really exist and there's incineration for energy production. The reality is that globally, one of the quickest and easiest ways we can reduce carbon emissions is to get organic waste out of landfill, as well as reduce our reliance on meat. And the reason that is because a lot of the inputs to produce, say, a steak are actually soy-based products that are grown in areas like the Amazon, which we know are very sensitive. And for the first time this year, the Amazon rainforest became a net contributor to climate change or carbon emissions than a net sequester, because of all the land clearing for growing soy to feed the cattle. So anyway, the thing is we live in a complex system. And part of the problem that we face is that our system that we currently live in is what's called a linear system, where we take things out of the ground or we cut down trees. We take things from nature, we turn them into usable goods, and then they end up as waste. In fact, most of our system is designed on waste. And that's really created a plethora of problems. And those are the problems that you and I and many other people around the world are trying to address in creative ways. And if you look to nature, it's got this brilliant solution, which is regeneration. Every part of nature, even in death, is designed to create new life. So be a bit like nature, or use nature-based solutions, and we can start to see that there are so many opportunities for us to transform the way we meet our needs as humans without actually disrupting the interdependence of our relationship with nature and nature's relationship. Everything on this earth relies on other elements of the system in order to survive. And this fundamental fact is something that humans have seemed to kind of design out of our own knowledge base. So this beautiful planet, the only known life-sustaining planet in the universe, is made up of many complex interconnected systems, of which we are a part of. And unfortunately, we are at the moment the main disruptors of. So much so, it has been stated now by many geologists around the world that we've entered into the Anthropocene, a time marked by human impact on the planet, as evidenced through the geological rock and ice records. So anyway, the point is, though, is that aside from the problems, every problem holds its own solution. And so the more we can learn to love the problems that we face, the more inquisitive, the more creative, and the more committed we will be to solving them. So climate change, as we know, is a huge issue, and it's something that we're debating, but it's embedded in everything we do, which requires a multitude of solutions to address it. And we know that a lot of companies are now making pledges for what's called Scope 1 emissions, which is their kind of general operations. But we really need to move to what's called Scope 3 emissions, which is the whole supply chain. Supply chain impacts are critical, and the circular economy is really about transforming that linear mindset, that linear economy, into one where we design waste out of the system from the start. And that requires something called product stewardship or extended producer responsibility. And one of the issues we have is that our entire economy is really based on waste, because in order to have the justification to create new things, we need people to waste things perpetually. And so we've normalized this culture where things are disposable. And for me, this is one of the biggest opportunities to transform the economy, is to design waste out of the system. And if you look at most of the waste management processes that we have currently, they really do kind of ignore the fact that all of these complex materials that we create will end up back in nature. There is absolutely no way. Everything that is created will return to a natural system in some way. And a lot of the issues we face is that we've created materials that do not biometabolize back into the natural world in a benign way, meaning that it's not going to create toxic or harmful elements, or like we know, what are they called, microplastics, are shedding from a lot of the technical materials. Like even my secondhand jacket here, I'm pretty sure if I washed it, would shed microfibers into the waterway, which would end up in the ocean. So we've got this waste-based system, and really the circular economy is about transforming that. In my opinion, waste is a design flaw. We've designed it into the system. We can design it out. And so that's really one of the main proponents of what you guys are hopefully going to be able to help in multiple areas, whether it be fashion or product or digital solutions. Because one thing you need to remember is even in a digital environment, there is a physical impact. So every email we send, every video we do, there is a server requirement, which is a carbon impact or carbon load. So some of the concepts that we're looking to integrate into the mainstream economy are like product stewardship, which in the European Union, we do already have pretty significant legislation to encourage this, but we still haven't seen it really be taken on wholeheartedly by mainstream companies. So really startups and disruptors like yourselves are the ones who can help transform those big old dinosaurs of industry by letting them realize that their idea of just iterating at the edges, making something recyclable, does not solve the problem. What we need to do is move to these things called product service system models, where instead of just designing and delivering a mainstream product into the marketplace that then essentially is the responsibility of the consumer to get rid of once it no longer works, which often the producer has designed failure into the product so that it's, part of that linear model. Ultimately, these product service system models are where you design a product that is delivered in an integrated and closed loop service model that then provides the value to the customer, but with a take back and reconditioning or repair. So all of those end of life scenarios are managed by the producer. Now, as a customer, I get benefits because I know that I'm buying into a functional value chain versus just a product that may be designed to break after a year. So this is really critical because in the SDGs, I believe that number 12, the sustainable production and consumption SDG, is one of the most critical in addressing all of the other ones, because our supply chains are where we have a lot of our inequity and unsocially good practices. Our supply chains are where a lot of our wastage happens and our energy use happens. So this is really one of the kind of critical intervention points that we have to address the global environmental challenges that we face. And there are multiple ways that we can address this. So obviously I mentioned product service system models. There are many design strategies and circular business strategies, such as ensuring that products can be repaired. Right now, most products do not have componentry that you can buy easily to upgrade or repair products. We're looking at taking products back, having them designed so they can be very easily disassembled, remanufactured into other goods. And of course, encouraging secondhand good markets, which currently are not measured in GDP and therefore not valued in a lot of societies. Extending the product's life so that products will have, instead of a 3-year cycle, such as a cell phone, getting them up to 10, if not longer years. And these things are all integrated. Now, because of the short time frame today, I don't want to go into all the details, but if you go online, I have a lot of free resources we've created that are helping people like yourselves learn these different strategies and apply them to the challenges that we have to address. So please do feel free to go and download them. I have a whole learning system that I designed with the Finnish education system on the circular classroom. But really what I want to share with you today is 3 key things that you can do to help design circular systems. The first is understand that one of the main proponents of the circular economy is there are 2 main biometabolism and technical metabolism cycles. So on one side, we have the biological systems, which I talked about already with the food waste. So anything that comes from nature that can be naturally metabolized into the natural world. There's a lot of natural words there. So basically, it's based on the idea there's no such thing as waste in nature. Everything that comes from nature should be able to be metabolized in a benign way. So I'm just looking like I have some cork here. Cork is a fully natural product. It should be able to go in a compost or a biodigester and be easily degraded in a way that is benign. Whereas like this glass that I have here, which is made out of obviously natural materials, but it is processed in such a way that if this gets in the natural environment, whilst it's benign, it's not going to biometabolize anytime soon. It'll take tens of thousands of years. And of course, we know that plastic, that does not really biometabolize. So the biological cycle is about maximizing the natural systems and capturing methane, using it in efficient ways. And then on the other side, we have the technical systems. So things that are technically designed that require a remanufacture into a technical system. So things can go back into nature. We can have composts and all the rest of it. Things that go back into the technical stream need to be managed, where you need to be able to take things apart, recapture their valuable materials, and reuse them. And so this kind of simplistic model is important to understand, because if you start to combine complex materials, you might create outcomes that you think are beneficial, but are actually kind of making it very difficult to recapture those materials. Now, another key concept is the idea of life cycle thinking, where we have a full picture of the environmental implications of our products across their full life. And this is based on the idea that any system requires inputs and will have outputs. So to break it down, everything that exists in the material world has gone through these 5 main life cycle stages. It's very early in the morning. All my words are coming out very fast. So basically, we have to go to nature and extract materials. Then we have to process those natural materials into usable materials and then into usable goods. And then we package and transport things, use them, and then there's end of life. Now, in life cycle thinking, it's based on the scientific methodology of life cycle assessment, which helps us gain a very clear understanding of the whole of life environmental impacts of materials and products as they move through the economy. And one of the outcomes of this is obviously knowledge, but also is something called an environmental product declaration, which helps companies and consumers and people across the value chain understand where companies have designed their products to be beneficial. And this is really important because the third thing I want to share with you is about supply chain sustainability and understanding how you can map and manage the supply chain, because any products that you are seeking to create, they are going to be part of a more complex system. So understanding and maximizing the benefits of both a social and environmental level is critical in this stage. So like one of my fun and favorite examples is in Scotland. There's a beer company that has worked with a bakery, and they take the unsold bread and they turn it into beer. What a great solution. So in supply chains, it's really important that we have transparency and traceability, that we understand and expose potential issues so that we can change them. And if you're interested in this, the UN has this really fantastic model, the Global Compact, which really addresses all the key principles and concepts of a sustainable supply chain. Whew. I know I'm going fast. I've had a lot of coffee. I hope you have. Last piece I want to share with you this morning is systems thinking. A lot of the times, good intentions create outcomes that don't necessarily solve the problems. So it's critical that we, as creative change makers wanting to help address these big issues, that we use as many tools as possible to ensure that the solutions we come up with today do not become tomorrow's problems. And systems thinking is one of the best frameworks for this. So it's based on the idea that most of us are taught to only see the most obvious part of a system. And this is the iceberg model, where we only see the events versus what's below the surface. And when you get down to that, that's often our perception or mental models. So a lot of the time when we're solving problems, it's very reactionary. We just see the event and we go, oh, that's a fire and it must be caused because somebody lit it, versus understanding the full system and the complexities. There are multiple tools that a systems thinker can employ, including moving from linear to circular mindset, but also it's about understanding synthesis, emergence, looking for relationships, seeing the whole before the parts. I've written extensively about this. You can find it all online for free if you're interested in diving into it more. But the concept is that everything is interconnected, and this is not in a hippy-dippy way. This is literally in a biophysical reality. I am breathing in oxygen. That is the byproduct of other natural systems that I then create carbon dioxide, which then is the input for a natural system. So we are all dynamically interconnected and interdependent. And this fundamental concept, once adopted, especially in the creative process, helps us create truly systemic and sustainable solutions. And if you want to be a fan like I am, then I strongly encourage you to look at work like Donella Meadows, who has been a pioneer in adapting systems thinking to sustainability. But a really basic concept is that there are feedbacks in every system, and that some systems are reinforcing and some are balancing. Balancing is what happens in nature, where everything has like an equilibrium, whereas a reinforcing feedback loop is where things get out of control. Climate change is a reinforcing feedback loop. The more carbon emissions, the more damaging systems to natural systems, the more fires, the more carbon emissions. It's like a snowball effect. So what we want to do is figure out how to create systems that are balancing, homeostasis, equilibrium. These are the rules of nature that we can learn to adopt as well. So basically, to summarize, what we're trying to do with the circular economy is to figure out how to maximize value throughout the system. So when we look at those two biological and technical systems, really the big overlay here and the big challenge for you guys is to figure out how to add greater value into the economy, meet human needs, but do it in ways that are regenerative for the planet. And that's what we're seeing all over the world now. We're seeing people challenge and interrogate the functionality of the things that we have, looking at the systems, understanding the full life cycle impacts, and of course, checking for those relationships so that the solutions that you are putting into the world are going to have those positive feedback loops. And this is the power of design and creativity, because we designed ourselves in, we can design ourselves out. And just briefly, if you are really interested and you need some extra tools, I created this simple method called the Disruptive Design Method, which applies that problem-loving mindset, systems thinking, and of course, creative problem solving to help people cycle through the possibilities of designing solutions that fit within their sphere of influence so that we can help make it more normalized for us to be change makers in this beautiful world. And I know, whilst I'm talking about individual solutions, it's really important that we have this kind of systemic change. And hopefully next month we will, at COP26, see our leaders take action for a more sustainable world. And so on that note, I thank you so much. And I wish you the best of luck. And I hope that I get to see some really cool solutions come out of this great innovation challenge. So thank you again. And I look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much, Leila, for your keynote speech and for the presentation and for the explanations. I'll quickly move over to the questions section to see. I see there's like a couple of 3 questions already that people have asked. Feel free to add this section, to use this section, to post your questions so we can take them out of there and then put them on screen and ask Leila for an answer.
I see someone there, Mice, you've asked about presentations. You can find so many of my presentations online, and I think, will this recording be available afterwards, Mark?
Yes, it will be, yeah. We'll have it as a shape of a replay.
I know I spoke fast. You can reduce the speed. I have a lot of content to share, and I've had a lot of coffee this morning, so...
That's fine, no worries.
Great.
But yeah, people will be able to watch
Thanks
it.
for all of your love there, but does anyone have a question?
So here, there's one I've put on screen. So the question is from Stiliani. I wonder if the only way out is radical rethinking and systemic change, or would just smaller scale changes be enough at this point?
I think right now we haven't got the solutions. Like, it's not like there's a Rolodex of them and we just have to go. I think we need to create them. And that's really why I'm such a proponent of like the innovative and expansive mindset. Systems thinking as a like philosophy suddenly changes the way you understand problems, because in systems thinking there is no blame. Everything's interconnected. It's a dynamic system. It's constantly evolving. And therefore, it's not that we spend our energy and time blaming elements. We are constantly seeking to understand what's reinforcing them. From that, we can then see where small shifts in the system can have that transformative change. So for me, I cannot stress enough how important it is to start to work on a systems mindset, especially when we're looking at the complexities. I believe that if we had taught our leaders how to think in systems, we would have very different outcomes.
I think you mentioned something which we'll pick up later again for the Sustainable Cities challenge, specifically for this project. You said that nature has shown us that it's regenerative in everything that it does. And then we have this problem with waste because it's been designed in, and now we need to design it out. So waste is the biggest part of the problem, I guess.
And just by its very concept of waste, if you look up the kind of dictionary definition, it's basically about intentionally losing value. And that's such a problem, because part of the reason we have waste is because we created an economic system that ignores the inputs from nature and ignores the outputs to the natural system. GDP as a method of measuring success does not account for any natural systems or services, nor does it account for the pollution or impacts to natural systems. So we have essentially created a blind system where it's like, poof, imaginarily, like from, materials suddenly appear. And then we have no accountability for the externalities, meaning the impacts that we have back on the natural system. And one of the most tragic parts of the GDP system is that the externalities, they're the unintended negative consequences of the economy, often do not negatively affect the people who benefit from them. So all the companies who are creating, waste, for example, who design products that are designed to break or disposable products, you and I pay for the cost of capturing and recycling or landfilling them. We pay for the cost of bad design through our council rates. So the tragedy of the inequity in the system isn't just the fact that you have people who are being exploited in the production of cheap products and disposable products throughout the supply chain, but that you and I in Western countries who spend quite a bit of money maintaining society are ultimately paying for this terrible design. And so I think it's kind of like this amazing, dupe. We've all been duped. I don't know if that word translates well, but it's like we're all like paying for products that end up causing more problems. It's like, so we need to really disrupt that and create an entire new normal where I call it post-disposable design, where disposability is not even a dirty word. It's literally as archaic as putting uranium in cosmetics, which for a long time was what companies did because it glowed and they thought it made you youthful. So we now know that that was not a good idea.
But sticking with the design question, Lucy has sort of a two-part question, trying to combine the two. So I'll put it on screen. So this is Lucy. She has three different ones. So I'm trying to kind of regroup them as one. But how can we redefine the waste term only through design?
How do we redefine the term specifically, or?
Yeah, but then she has. I think it's because waste kind of like it's linked to design. So in that sort of terminology. So is the design the solution to get waste out, to maybe formulate it differently?
Well, basically anything you own, use, touch, all systems are designed, right? Nature has a way of designing systems, so they're regenerative. Humans have a way of designing systems, so they're degenerative, so that they fit within the current linear model, right? So if you think about it, design as a concept is not just what professionals do. I studied design. I learned how to design solutions using certain tools, but also we are citizen designers through the economic actions that we take, because the economy is a designed product that emerges through the actions of individuals. So we're all part of this design system. Now, you can actually apply design and what is called design thinking to any problem and come up with solutions that may or may not have benefits. They might make you a lot of money, but they might not benefit the whole system. So for me, I'm on a mission to educate every designer to not only have the tools to make sure their products and services meet human needs in sustainable and regenerative ways, but also so they have the agency. And when I mean by agency, I mean the ability to understand that they have this impact on the world and that they have the ethics and the tools to ensure that they can rebut the demands to create obsolete and unsustainable and unethical and inequitable products, which is currently how most things are designed. If you look at your cell phone, it is designed intentionally to not be repaired, so that the company who produced that product benefits from continually selling you newer versions. And we just saw this with a certain major company doing a big product launch, which was like ridiculous, because they're like, oh, we have to kind of keep making new things, rather than thinking, okay, we already have all these customers who love our products. Why don't we create a longer term relationship with them and design our products so that we can create that product service system model? They're fully reconfigurable within our system. And me as the consumer, I get the updated whiz bang product, but I know that it's been done in a sustainable and regenerative way. So it's a mindset shift, not just in us as consumers, but in industry as a whole.
Thank you, Leila. Maybe here a couple more questions. So, is from Nicolas. Thank you, Leila. He says, and then from what you see, is circularity being taught more and more, or maybe enough at university level? Is there enough efforts being done to actually sensitize people
well,
about?
You are talking to someone who created a disruptive school called the Unschool, which helps undo the damage that mainstream education did. And having gone through 10 years of higher education myself and getting a PhD, whilst I love education and think it's critical for society to flourish, I think that the reality is the linear model is taught in education as much as it is in industry. And so disrupting that is critical. We have silos and specializations that don't create transformative thinking nor outcomes. So it's all repetition, repetition, repetition. And as the physicist and science kind of historian Thomas Kahn talked about, is this whole idea of a paradigm shift. And paradigm shifts come about when people are willing to take off the comfortable blanket of old ideas and really embrace the possibility of a new way of thinking. And I think higher education, secondary education, primary education, and I think like adult life education, because we learn through media and interaction with other people, needs to really take a hard look at the things that it's replicating, because we replicate the systems that created the problem and we only iterate rather than completely transform them. So I truly believe that whilst there are initiatives and some schools are leading the way, I still think that there is so much work that needs to be done to ensure that the leaders of tomorrow are given the tools, but fundamentally that the leaders of today are given the tools, which is why I created a school for adults, because I'm like, the kids learn from us. We are the ones paving the way for them to follow. So whilst I love that we have Greta Thunberg and millions of kids around the world demanding action on climate change, I think it is an appalling deficit of our part as adults who have the power to make change in our jobs and our lives every day, to lead by example, but we don't. And so for me, it's like this really embarrassing travesty that we have to rectify. And I'd love to see more people involved in helping to do that, especially those who work for big mainstream companies and those who are willing to disrupt through creative innovations and help those companies realize that they have already the responsibility and, let's be honest, the money to do I'm like, just take 10% of your marketing budget, put it in R&D for sustainability, and we would have so many incredible solutions that would help us get to a better outcome. So let's see.
They're mentioning budget. That's maybe a good bridge to Romain's question that he asked here. So is basically, I'll put it on screen here, but I think the short of the question is circularity going to be more expensive? So is circular solution going to be more expensive than the linear solution?
Yeah, very good question. And I think, look, circularity, sustainability, they're kind of in the same camp. Ultimately, what it is it's about doing more with less. It's about being more considered in the materials. And think about it. If right now we have a waste-based economy that relies on constantly extracting raw materials, and those raw materials are subsidized, which they are, not just in how expensive it is to have killed the climate, but also in how governments often falsely incentivize certain markets. If you even the playing field, for sure, being sustainable would be way cheaper. But unfortunately, because of perverse incentives in markets right now, it can be, not always, it can be slightly more expensive. But the thing is I have no problem with us revaluing how we spend our money, because actually right now you buy into planned obsolescence or disposability, and you are in a continual consumption cycle that of the life of the product's functionality, you pay more than having products that are more regenerative or have longer lifespans. It's just that we are kind of stuck in this idea that at the moment that we spend the money, if it's $3 or $10, that it's cheap, but it's not. The cost is just delayed over. It's like payment processes. So it's a psychological problem, really, more so than a practical and financial. I think there are a lot of equity issues that come into play. But we have a lot of equity issues as it stands. Most of the poorest people in the world are the ones who bear the brunt of our poor decisions. 50 million tons of e-waste are trafficked globally every year to emerging economies. So you have fishing villages in Thailand that currently right now your recycled phones and laptops that you discarded are going to be haphazardly processed by communities that have the fishing industry's collapsed because of overfishing, and now there's no environmental standards or concern or care for them. So I feel like, you know, I'm sorry if in a Western country you have to pay a bit more money to have a better product, but right now there are millions of people who pay for us to have cheap products through their health and well-being. And I think that I don't want to hear people in West complaining about it being more expensive, because we benefit from other people's exploitation, which I think is really, really, really effed up. So
there is that saying in what you said about buying something which just costs $3, but then given the lifespan of the product, you have to buy more and more and more, and it doesn't become sustainable anymore, be that for nature or be that economically. So there's a saying, I am too poor to buy cheap, because in the long term, you actually end up spending more money. So if you buy durable, sustainable, and of a greater, higher quality in terms of design, then that will help probably as well.
And it's hard to break that. Like, cheap is best mindset is drummed into us, and it's very hard to I've had it myself, like buying things that have lifetime guarantees, but they like the initial outlay is so much more. I have to be like, Leila, lifetime guarantee. Do you know what that means? Lifetime guarantee. You know, I had to like, let's do the math. If you had to buy 5 of these, you know, and I think that that's really where the mindset shifts and the paradigm shifts come in, you know, and really where it is the responsibility of companies to reconfigure the way they deliver value into the economy, which is why my whole thing is like, this isn't just about iterating materials. It's about changing value systems, right? And of course, we need to value nature. If we didn't, continuing to not value nature in our economy will continue to create the same outcomes, no matter how, you know, many innovations we have. So obviously we need that systemic change. But I think that's coming. I hope it's coming. I think it is. I know it is. There you go. Positive affirmation. Anyway.
I'll take two more questions. So one from Rodrigo, who is asking, where do you think we should start first? Is it food production, or is it consumer goods, or is it building materials for construction?
All of the above. Look, what I talk about is your sphere of influence. So we all have a sphere of influence on the world, and that's usually made up of, you know, where we are in our lives, the resources we have, and then using that sphere of influence to identify where you can intervene in the system. There's no point trying to design something that you have no agency over. You know, obviously we all want regulation, but if you don't work in policy and you don't have a direct line to policy, then you're not going to really be able to disrupt that. So I think if you have expertise in the construction sector, then great. But if you don't, or you don't have someone you can rely on, then work within the sphere of influence that you are most likely going to be able to effectively create change. And we all have lots of tacit knowledge, lived experience. We are all consumers and we are all eaters of food, you know? So of course, like, go and explore and learn new skills, but at the same time, be realistic about what it is that your unique set of skills or your team's unique set of skills can contribute, so that you have that lived experience and you have that more intuitive and empathetic understanding. So the outcomes you're creating are going to be really, really significant and valuable. So work within the sector. We need multiple forms of intervention. Work within the one that is closest to your ability to affect massive and positive change.
Thank you. One question that I think is really important, because I discovered that difference whilst planning this project, which I wasn't aware of before. So it's Lucy was the question, and she's referring to the biological and to the technical system. And she says, would it be possible to combine the two, or should they be avoided being combined? I mean, you explained them in your presentation earlier as two separate cycles. Should they be seen as separate, or can they actually be combined?
Yeah, so I completely agree with you. And personally, the reason I make an effort to explain this is because, you know, in the field of the circular economy, this is kind of the current proposition. And I think it's an important thing to understand. It also creates a lot of problems because a lot of materials are biologically based, technically altered, and you have some products that could be biological, but you know, they can't be benignly because they've got human excrement in them. I don't know, like, there's lots of complexities for sure, but that would mean that we essentially design out of our entire economy heavy metals, and sure, maybe we can get to that point, but I think right now, especially with our addiction to technology, we have to work within the parameters of what we've created. And so having those technological systems of taking back and processing things in the most efficient and effective ways, I think is critical. I don't think we can be naive to think that tomorrow we'll suddenly not have any of these complex materials in our supply chain. And so plastics, like the thing about plastics is, you know, used in the right way and managed effectively, they can be incredibly valuable and useful. Right now, the travesty is that we just put them in everything and make them disposable. A high value material put into a disposable system is just really inefficient. And so I feel like if you know, right now, if you use bio-based materials as an alternative for plastic, so like PLA-based coffee cups or something, they only are beneficial if you have a biodigester or composting system to take them back. So you have to think in the full systems, because just making something recyclable or biodegradable doesn't mean that that's actually where it's going to end up. And so that's really the complexity of, and that's why that full systems mindset is so critical. So when it comes to the circular economy, as the proposition stands today, you know, October 2021, I think it's going to evolve. It has to, you know. I've been working in sustainability for 20 years, and I came in after 30 years of amazing work, but it used to all be cleaner production. That's what it was called, industrial symbiosis. It was all about manufacturing sustainability, as in like the manufacturers working together. And now we're talking about a higher level of transformation, and that's fantastic. And I think we're going to see a lot more evolution and emergence and growth. And the way we're going to see that is having more creative minds like yourselves, committed and passionate and excited and loving the problems and helping to, you know, evolve and transform the world. So good luck to you all in doing that. I'm really excited about this.
I think that's a very good end word, and thank you very much, Leila. That's unfortunately that's all what we have time for in this webinar today. I mean, there's more questions that haven't been unanswered, but we didn't have enough time to treat all the questions. So thank you to the participants for asking your questions. We'll try to get an answer to you in due time. And thank you so much, Leila, for participating and for your
My pleasure.
speech.
Good luck with it.
Thank you very much. See you soon.
Ciao,
Cheers.
bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. So I'll just pull back up the presentations. Thank you all really for asking your questions. Apologies if we didn't manage to get through all of them in this short time. We talked about bridges at the beginning, creating a bridge between the first edition and the second edition. So we felt that there was no better way to talk about the challenge than to actually invite people back that experienced it firsthand, as in the shape of the pilot edition that we set up last year and the training that they took part in this year. So this is the Throwback Wednesday, so when it happened, and sort of the connections made and hashtag building bridges. And it's with great pleasure that I welcome Philip Westerlund, CEO of Our Choice. I mentioned him earlier. He's sort of come up with this idea to have circular sneakers, and Philip will give you a short testimonial about his experience on the first edition of the challenge, what he's learned, but also give us an update on his project and where he's at, and with potentially new ideas and new projects coming up. Hi, Philip. Welcome, and looking forward to hearing your shared experience here.
Thank you so much, Mark. Can you all hear me? Yeah?
Yes.
Excellent. So first off, hi, everyone. Hope you're all doing great. It's an honor to be here. And I want to start off by thanking the Ministry of Economy, Luxinnovation, and of course, the team at Luxembourg Creative Industries Cluster. Your support means a great deal to us. Also, thank you to Leila. I love that presentation. That was super inspiring. And yeah, I'm here today to share my experience and the Circular by Design Challenge and what that meant for us. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Philippe Westerlund. I'm incubator at the University of Luxembourg. I am graduating this year, actually. So I'm a psychologist, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm a circular economy activist. Of course, I'm also the CEO and the founder of Our Choice. here you have it. So we entered the Circular by Design challenge. We call it the world's first circular sneaker. And you can see the composition right here. And I want to circle back to Leila's presentation talking about plastics and getting something that will last you, because that is exactly the idea here. So instead of you getting plastic sneakers, well, you get these sneakers. They're made from pure raw materials, and you can actually wear them for 7 years instead of the average 3 to 12 months. I was sick of greenwashing. I wanted to do something very tangible, and that is why I entered this challenge. So now that you've seen the products and what I sort of came with, let's talk about what the challenge actually was for us. So we had the sneakers, we had a challenge. I was running the business already. I was doing crowdfunding. I was also completing my internship. I was writing up a thesis. So yeah, I had a lot going on, but that was great because the experience here is very constant, because we got a great foundation in workshops about the circular economy and design thinking. So I want to, big shout out to Samuel, to Jan, to Piotr, to Magdalena, because we got great workshops, and we entered the mobility category, meaning that we also got coaches. So Goodyear was the partnering company, and we were working around the idea of using tires for sneaker soles. So naturally, I had to learn a lot about tires. Never thought I would, but I did very much appreciate it because it did expand my mindset. Of course, we got to network with participants, with coaches, and it was about constantly rethinking the processes and how we could become more circular in our business. So, the constant feedback, constantly being like, the steering committees, it's not Shark Tank, but it is challenging, and it's also super rewarding. But rethinking also means that you get to do a lot better. Because if you rethink all the time, well, the results will get there, and we did good. So we ended up winning our category. We're now working with Goodyear. It's such a pleasure working with Sebastian and the team. And you can also see Mr. Fayo here. We were kind of delayed because when we did the challenge, we also had COVID, and I don't have to talk about COVID, but Minister Fayo actually asked me 3 times, Philip, where are my sneaks? So I'm happy that finally he's got them. And I need to tell you again that you look great in them. Mr. Fayo also invited us to sell our sneakers at the Caritas store. It's located wall to wall with Del Hayes at the Royal Hamilius in Luxembourg. So if you have a moment, step by and I can tell you more about the sneaks. But what have we been up to? So we are expanding our different models and our different colors. I love the green ones right here because they're kind of a statement for the circular economy, and that is the idea. Basically, we still have our other variations, of course. So again, I welcome you to come by the pop-up display and try them on. But perhaps even more exciting, and brand new, we have the world's first circular shades. So we are expanding our product line. If you are curious about circular shades, the materials, well, do reach out to me. We are slowly opening up for pre-orders, B2B sales, and I would love to also share more about the materials and the circular business model, of course. The launch date will be spring 2022. What is perhaps even more exciting, and also circling back to the challenge itself, is that rethinking all the time has led us to this. So we're currently raising funds with a few trusted partners, EY Innovation in Luxembourg, among others, and we're building a portal for circular products only. So we're looking to utilize blockchain to enable for traceability across the supply chain. And I also heard that in your talk, Leila. But it is about retaining intelligence and making sure that we have a transparent supply chain, because only then we can become fully circular. So it means that you scan the QR codes inside the products that you get from ourchoice.eco, and you get to find out what there is to find out about the product that you're getting more importantly, also me being a psychologist, this is where we can open up, where you can build the relationship with your product so that you can have the product for 7 years. So it's about you scanning that code, and it's about the circular economy in fashion unlocking for you. So you can send your goods for repair, you can send them for recycling, you can resell them on ourchoice.eco. So it's about the user being a user and not an end customer. So that is very exciting, and it's what I spend my days and my nights on. Coming back to the challenge, and also everyone listening, I want to summarize my experience, and I want to say just start. So if you have an idea, you have a project, just go for it. Because I mean, look at us. We started with a pair of sneaks. Right now, we're building a portal. We're expanding our product line, and it is an organic journey because we're constantly rethinking. So it's not about it's not about the how, but it's about the why. It's about why you're doing it, and it's about becoming better and having that circular mindset. I also sort of want to say absorb the workshops, the coaching, and the feedback. Tough days will come, but just stick with it because everyone wants the same thing. We want circular economy. It is about trial and error. It's also about building these relationships. So with other participants, with the coaches, of course, with the great team at Luxinnovation and the creative industries cluster. But be authentic and provide meaning, because then people can also relate to you and what you're trying to do. So yeah, a few closing words. I want to say that for us, the Circular by Design Challenge was really a platform. It was an accelerator. We're used to running, but this was a sprint. It is about getting that support, and this support is not accessible anyplace else. So it is a great opportunity. It still is. I'm here today. It is a tailored fit, so you really get that tailored experience. I think that's unique. And it is about professionalism and devotion from the challenge, but also the other participants. So it's a great environment to be in and to grow with, I want to say. So thank you for listening. I hope that there are some questions. I will respond in the chat box. If not, connect with me on LinkedIn. Come see me at the pop-up display, wall-to-wall with Delhaize Proxy Store, from Wednesday to Saturday, from 12 to 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So hope to see you there. And thanks again for having me.
Thanks a lot, Philip, and thank you very much for sharing what your current endeavors and where you're at, and the expansion of your product, different products as well. So nice to see you again, and it's nice that we kind of like over this project that we're staying in touch and sort of taking news on where you are and how you progress with your various projects. Thanks again for participating.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Anya. Ciao.
Bye-bye. So we'll now welcome our next former participant. So from our first cohort, that was Marco Klucker, the CEO and founder of Capriola. Marco keeps saying, as the story goes, that he was very, well, he didn't want to participate. He wasn't sure about participating. So I convinced him by replying to his email and saying, well, you have nothing to lose, so you could just submit your idea and we'll see how it goes, but I can't make any promises. Well, in the end, Marco ended up winning the product category with his idea, which he'll explain to you in greater detail, but it's based on coffee and actually reusing sort of end-of-life coffee to making briquettes. So Marco, thank you very much for joining us today, and looking forward to hearing your testimonial about your experience that this challenge and how it's helped you progress with your idea and where you're at today with your project. Over to you.
Yeah,
Marco.
thank you very much, Mark. I guess, or I hope everybody can hear me as well. So my name is Marco. I am like Philip, originally Swedish, but I live in Luxembourg since a while back. And I'll tell you a little bit about my project Capriola and what Luxinnovation did for me. So, so what is Project Capriola? So where we are today, we have a product that gives an extended life to coffee waste. So it turns out that we, through the input of Luxinnovation, created an industrial solution for creating the briquettes that you see on the image here. which are available to anybody with access to coffee waste. And as Mark mentioned, it's also the project that almost didn't make it. I found out my wife was pregnant at the time, so I thought my time was going to be scarce, but luckily, I participated. So how I started, so in 2020 in July, I got COVID. So after spending multiple hours on YouTube, watching every series known to man, experiencing some lower back pain from all the lying down, I decided, okay, let me look into this because I heard that you can use coffee waste as a fertilizer. So I started doing a little bit of research, started reading up on this subject, and started shooting some random emails and direct messages on LinkedIn. But I had kind of a slide deck. I had a lot of questions that I didn't know how to answer, didn't know what to do, didn't know where I was going. A lot of people encouraged me, said, yeah, it's great, you should do something with coffee waste, but I didn't really have a clear aim. I was more interested in meeting people in Luxembourg through this project and building kind of a network and supply chain around the coffee waste. So during the journey, I had to pivot a lot. I had to rethink, I had to remodel, I had to think about everything, simple things such as pricing. And mainly what helped me a lot is that I had to work towards deadlines. So when you're doing something on your own, unless somebody's cracking the whip, you kind of tend to procrastinate or have things take longer times than they should. But during the program, I really am very, very grateful to Luxinnovation and also the King of the North when it comes to product design, Jan Walter Parr from Eggs, which was my coach during the journey. Speaking about coaching and deadlines, so finding time for everybody is extremely difficult, of course. I have a full-time job. I'm at work at the moment. I'm looking at 3 screens while doing this presentation. So being able to multitask and do a lot of things at the same time is, of course, something that I'm quite good at, I would say. But it also gave me concrete goals and dates to work towards, because when you have a sense of urgency, you tend to show up. And it also gave me a boost because I got a lot of different input because of the jury members' diverse backgrounds and mainly also the experience. And they pushed me quite a lot by asking the hard questions. So I send my presentations and my idea to a lot of friends, and everybody encouraged me saying, oh yeah, this is great, this is good, oh, you're doing so good. But nobody pushed the wrong buttons. Nobody challenged me. So that was really good when it comes to the coaching and the jury part. So how my project developed. So I was able to produce an MVP, which was really nice because for me, the circular economy in one way or another is physical. So as you see here on the picture, here are the briquettes. This picture is actually taken in Chicago. So during the project, I was also challenged a lot, and I was able to figure out the scaling, and I was able to touch and burn the MVP. So I was actually able to do the world's first coffee barbecue in the world-known city of Junglins, or commune here in Luxembourg. After winning the challenge, I also got tons of media coverage. So I was on the cover of Info Green magazine, Paper Jam did a piece on me, Delano was part of a podcast recently. And I was also picked up by a couple of larger accounts on Instagram, even getting 11,000 views for one single point, which is probably going to be the highlight of my social media career. So where am I today? So as part of the prize, I won an office here in the city. I also won a voucher with a patent lawyer here in Luxembourg. So finalizing on the trademarks and IP rights is something that I'm doing right now. And also, since I was able to create the briquettes together with my partner here in Luxembourg from Mondo del Café, where the briquettes are actually pressed at the moment, we were able to produce the briquettes, of course, and they travel the world, as you might have seen if you heard about my project. As you see here on the image, the briquettes are in Warsaw, but they've also made it to Scotland, they made it to Stockholm, they made it to a lot of different places. So there was, since one of my philosophies is that you should build in public, so I'm quite vocal. I'm connecting with a lot of people on social media, and I'm not keeping anything secret. Anybody that wants to try or wants to ask me a couple questions, I always find time to do it somehow. So what was the impact that Luxinnovation had on my project? So I'll be kind of honest and say I had kind of nothing. But if you look at where I am today, I was really taught and given a model how to ask the right questions, how to really develop a product or a service or whatnot. Connections were made. So one of the jobs that Luxinnovation has is to connect people. So doors were open. I got tons of exposure. I mean, look at this today. Remember, I started this in quarantine in a bedroom, 5 by 5 meters or even less, and look what became of it. And it's also a stamp of quality. So one of my approaches, I'm quite outgoing. So I never sat down and actually counted how many DMs and mails and call I made, but it's in the 4 figures. And it was also good to know that I could rely on the branding of Luxinnovation by sending links that, yeah, my project is part of this competition. Can we connect? Can we do something? And a lot of people did. So what's next for me? So finalizing the IP rights, so patent, trademarks. I have a company set up as a result of this. So complete also the structuring, perform clinical testing of the briquettes. So maybe you would ask yourself, why would you transform coffee waste into briquettes? It's because they're said to have a higher calorific value and longer burning time than wood, which has a positive impact as we don't need to cut down trees, and coffee waste is available almost everywhere. So with my solution, it will be able for somebody available to lease for somebody in, for example, I don't know, South America with access to coffee waste, and they collect the waste locally then. So for this project specifically, there's been a astounding interest from South America. I'm working on sending a couple of briquettes over for sampling, but it's a little bit different with the posting service south of the equator. So I'm also going to start selling and start partnering up. So partners for me are roasters, and we've received a ton of interest and people who want to work together with us. But mainly also it's to have fun. So throughout this journey, it was, of course, burning the midnight oil, drinking a lot of coffee during the night while I was working on the project, staying in close contact with a lot of friends, building bridges, building a network, and trying to have fun at the same time. So next year, let's see if we can change this picture. Yeah, next year, you could be next. So just start realistic, start small. Remember, I initially started with this idea. We wanted it to be fertilizer, right? Contact everyone, tell everyone, build in public, rely on Luxinnovation to connect you where it's needed, work with deadlines and work with experts. So in a nutshell, this is why you should participate in the Luxinnovation challenge. And then for my final slide here, connect with me on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, and my email address. And a lot of people ask me, what is Capriola really? So what you see here, Capriola is one of the toughest moves you can teach a horse, is to jump and kick with both the front and the back legs. And that's kind of what you will need to do if you want to complete your project here. You need to really challenge yourself. So I'm available in the chat if people have questions, or you can find me directly on social media. I'm the marketing department, the legal department, the operations department, the everything. And that's it for me. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Marco. There's a nice thread from the beginning of Leila mentioning coffee, you mentioning coffee. So that's kind of like, you can see there's lots of resources that are being used that you can reuse for your project. And really nice to hear where you're at now, and that your coffee briquettes are traveling the world, and that you're sort of expanding and growing and building on the project idea. And yeah, it was a real pleasure having you on the first edition. And I think growth and that pivot from fertilizer to coffee briquettes was something that a discovery during the coaching process and the steering committees we had with jury and with the partners. Yeah, really pleased that you stuck with us and that it's been such a positive experience for you. Thanks for taking part. Thanks for your return of experience. And now we'll, pardon me, now we'll get into the nitty-gritty of this edition. And I'll pass over to my colleague, Anya. She's a project manager at Luxinnovation, and she's been a driving force for the first edition and the second edition of the challenge. She doesn't really like the attention, but she has worked tremendously on this project in helping as well, having the exchange with all the partners. So she will tell you more about the project description in terms of the challenge categories, the scope of eligibility, so who can participate, and for the participants, and the timeline for the project. And then I will hook back in afterwards when we talk to you about the partners and the actual challenge. Over to you, Anja.
Thank you, Mark. First of all, I think I'd like to say that it's really great to see how the participants of last year are still progressing in their project. So that's very rewarding for us. And now I'm going to explain a bit about the second edition of this project. So as has been mentioned earlier, this year we will have 5 categories. 4 of them are open to European companies. So this is the Industry 4.0, fashion, mobility, and sustainable cities. We have an additional category this year, Luxembourg, Let's Make It Happen, which will be open to companies that are based in Luxembourg. You will hear more about the different categories and the content of the calls when Mark will talk to the partners later. I'm also very happy that we opened up our competition to students this year. They will be able to participate to the Sustainable Cities call. So who is eligible this year to take part in the competition? On the one hand, European companies, and by European, we mean that they have to be based in the European Union, in the European Economic Area, or otherwise in the European Free Trade Association territory. So that covers quite a lot. And for the students, we expect participants aged 12 to 30 years old, and they should be attending a school or university in Luxembourg. Teams participating can have 1 to 4 people maximum, and they can apply as a team. Let's briefly go over the project timeline. So today we have officially launched phase 1 of this competition with this webinar. And after this webinar, the lines will go open and the participants can submit their project ideas until the 3rd of December. They will then be evaluated by our jury, and we will announce the 30 best projects from companies and the 3 best ideas from students on the 22nd of December. In beginning of next year, we will start the second phase, and this will start with a pitching session for the pre-selected 30 companies. They will pitch the project to our jury, and the jury will then pick the 15 best projects and announce the winners on the 10th of January. After that, the real work will start. So the coaching program, which will take roughly 12 weeks. As mentioned by the participants from last year, there will be workshops, there will be individual coaching, and there will be 3 steering committees, 1 at the beginning of the coaching phase, 1 in the middle, and 1 towards the end. And in these steering committees, the projects will be challenged by our jury and by our experts. The final project submission deadline will be on the 11th of April, and then the jury will pick the best projects for each category. And the winners will then be announced in the award ceremony, which will take place on the 21st of April. And after that, the work will continue for the winners together with the project partners to implement their project together with them. So that's all for the planning of the project. You will find all the information back on our website that will go live at the end of this webinar. And I pass back to Mark to present our project partners.
Thank you very much, Anja. Yes, so as for the project partners, so apologies, we're running slightly late, but I didn't want to interrupt people when they were talking, as it was quite interesting to follow that, and I see that the chat is quite lively as well with people following the discussions, so that's why we're running slightly late, but the important parts are coming at the end as well, so stay with us with the reveal of where you can actually then submit your ideas and on which platform. So as for the main part of the project partners who kind of help make this project happen. We have the continuous support of the Ministry of the Economy. We mentioned that actually that has sort of grown in financial support as well, with the prize money and with the help of that sort of 4-week virtual accelerator. The IPIL, for those of you who are not familiar with the Luxembourgish setup, that's the Institut de la Propriété Intellectuelle Luxembourgeoise, so an institute for IP questions here in Luxembourg. They're partnering again for those IP questions and be part of the jury. We have the Luxembourgish Chamber of Commerce, we have the Chamber of Skilled Crafts, and the FEDIL, which is the Federation for the Industrials, or for the industry, let's say, here in Luxembourg. We're also partnering and will be members of our jury. Then, as for the project partners that are actually sort of industry-based or companies that support the various challenges and the calls, so we have Lux, a new partner that we're really pleased to welcome on the project this year. I think David Franken is joining us, and we'll have a quick chat with him just in a few minutes. Anka project based in Luxembourg and in Turkey, in Greece. They are in Athens in Greece. They are returning partners to the project as they participate in the first edition. So welcome Lynn and Sarah. Sarah Tizit is a new partner this year. So for the Industry 4.0 category. So there we will welcome later and have a quick chat with Laurent Federspiel, who is the Director for Digital and Data at Sarah Tizit. Goodyear for the mobility category is participating again as a partner after successful first year participation, let's say, with Philip, as you mentioned, this collaboration together with Goodyear, with Sébastien Fontaine, who's responsible for, let's say, everything that's designed at Goodyear, and they have their European headquarters, obviously, here in Luxembourg. So we'll have a quick exchange with Sébastien in a bit as well about their category. Circular Hotspot Wils, new partner for the Sustainable Cities category. There we'll have a quick exchange about or presentation from Patti Koppes, the Circular Economy Manager at Wils, who will tell us about the 2 challenges for companies and the 1 very specific challenge for students that they've set up. Then we have a joint call between LSC Engineering and the Pro Group for the Sustainable Cities category as well. We'll hear more about that in a bit. And we have Poly Global Advisory here, similar to LSC Engineering, where Samuel Majeros was a coach in the mobility category last year, is now sort of entering as a partner. And Pro Group has a continuous partnership from the first edition with us. Poly Global Advisory, Meng was a coach on the first edition and now has decided with his company and consultancy to join the project as a partner. So we'll also hear from Meng in just a bit. So we then have a very specific category, which you will have noticed in our sort of social media marketing campaign, and that we announced as being Luxembourg, let's make it happen. So it's very, very sort of dedicated to Luxembourg. That sort of image of Luxembourg. And for that presentation, so we'll focus on this for a few minutes and zoom in on that category specifically. For that part of the presentation, I have Beryl Koltz, who is joining us. She's the strategic manager for Luxembourg, Let's Make It Happen. And we have Catherine Pastore, who is the who is the event product manager as part of that team. So welcome, Beryl, and welcome, Catherine. So we'll pass over to you to let us explain what you have in store as this very specific challenge that you helped us build and which comes from your side.
Thank you, Mark. Good morning. We are delighted to be with you today. And thank you very much, Luxinnovation and the Creative Industries Cluster, for letting us participate in this new Circular by Design challenge with this year a Luxembourg Let's Make It Happen category. So just a word about our initiative. What is it exactly? Luxembourg Let's Make It Happen, the so-called nation branding initiative, is a unit at the Ministry of Foreign and European Affairs. As part of our mission to promote Luxembourg, we are aimed to advise and coordinate the stakeholders and networks of the promotion of the country and provide them, among others, with messages and visuals, tools, and a collection of promotional objects and products called the Luxembourg Collection. So what's the aim of this collection? Well, it serves the following purposes. Official representation gifts as used by embassies, Luxembourg trade and investment offices, ITIOs, ministries, etc. Identification products worn by the local general public or gifts given by them to an international audience. Souvenir or gifts purchased by international visitors. So for the Luxembourg collection, we also have an official sales network. So a B2C one with stores such as the Luxembourg House, and a B2B sales platform that is used by embassies, LTIOs, ministries, institutions, etc. Since June 2nd of this year, Luxembourg Let's Make It Happen has a new strategy approved by the Government Council. And this strategy unfolds three priority themes: creativity, diversity, and sustainability. Reason why we are here with you today. So we also have one main objective. It is to make known the values and faces of Luxembourg, meaning our Luxembourg collection is presently undertaking a transition towards a more sustainable, local, and contextualized by the means of storytelling mode of production. So here's an example with our latest advent calendar. It is conditioned by a sheltered workshop. It is offering to discover many local products of Luxembourg and the faces and values behind the products. So now let's get back to our challenge. And I am therefore passing the word on to my colleague, Catherine Pastore, who, as our events and product manager, will represent us in the jury. So Catherine, what is our challenge precisely about?
Thank you, Beryl, and good morning to everyone. So today we are calling on the country's creatives and entrepreneurs to represent Luxembourg and the Luxembourg brand by designing and developing products that are in conformity with the principles of circular economy, that incorporate our three priority themes to be emphasized in the promotion of the country: diversity, creativity, and sustainability, that are telling a story about Luxembourg, its history and values, and all this integrating the signature of Luxembourg, which can be in color or in monochrome. And last but not least, the product should target for economic viability. As we aim to promote the creativity, diversity, and the expertise in sustainability of Luxembourg, the creative or entrepreneur must have a link with Luxembourg, which means that out of a team size of 1 to 4 members, one member needs to have a Luxembourg legal business permit. However, previous experience in circular design is not necessary. Now coming to the award, the winner will be awarded allowances of 15,000 euros in April during the award ceremony. The winner will also benefit from the Luxembourg Collection Network, distribution network, as we have seen before, mentioned before, for the B2C, the Luxembourg House, and the Luxembourg Collection.lu for the B2B. So let's make it happen. You will find these and many more information in our requirement specifications, which you can download from the CDBC website. And if you have any further questions, do not hesitate to contact us. We are very honored, we are very excited to being part of this Circular Design Challenge edition this year, and looking really forward to discovering all the products very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Thank you very much, Beryl. So yes, we'll allow people to ask a few questions afterwards, but so the full brief will be afterwards published on the website as well. So interested candidates will be able to download it, check through it, and then send in their ideas. Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to have you on this project and to collaborate on this Circular by Design Challenge together.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll pass over the the stage now to Patti Koppes, who is the Circular Economy Manager in Wils, the Circular Hotspot Wils. Wils is participating in the Sustainable Cities category this year. And Patti will give you an explanation about the two challenges that they are submitting for this specific category. And this one will be open to companies based in Europe, but also there's one specific one for students. Good morning, Patti, and looking forward to hear the challenge that you provide for this project.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Mark. Yes, so I'm very excited to be able to announce that the Hotspot Wils is a partner for this year's edition of the Circular by Design Challenge. Just briefly, who is the Hotspot Wils? In fact, the municipality of Wils has been named a regional hotspot for circular economy in Luxembourg. In simple terms, this means that Wils encourages, develops, and implements many different projects and initiatives in the field of circular economy on its territory. And this is also the reason why we chose to participate in this challenge with not only one, but two briefs, and both in the category of sustainable cities. The first brief targets a very specific product design. In fact, Wils is looking for an alternative to the traditional publicity banners, because the commonly used PVC-based or at least PVC-coated banners are not very environmentally friendly. And therefore, we're looking for a product that can be used for the same purpose, but at the same time can be recycled or composted, or even better, be reprinted and reused. We are very eager to see the proposals for this brief, and well, depending on the outcome, we hope to even be able to cover a part of one of our building facades with this new solution. Then we have a second brief, and this second brief is much wider than the first brief, and we're talking about a sharing center. Now, the idea of sharing economy is not new. We know that sharing resources helps us to save resources and to use them more efficiently. Now, the question, however, is how does such a sharing center look like in real life? What type of products should be shared? With whom should they be shared? Do we need a space for it? How big should it be? What are the logistics behind it, etc.? So there are many questions, and we would like to see a proposal which develops this rough idea of a sharing center into a real project of how this could work in real life. And it's this second brief, which is also open for the student program of this challenge, because we believe that our younger generations, they have a lot of great ideas and that they can really make a difference. And if they can propose a solution that works for them, well, they can bring it on to our next generations, and this new part of a lifestyle can really make a difference. So we are excited to be a partner of the challenge, and we hope to see many interesting project proposals.
Thank you very much, Patti, for the explanation for those two specific calls in the sustainable cities category. We'll stay with the sustainable cities category now, and we'll have the other partners as well that we will be able to speak to briefly about their challenge. So the next one is a joint call that they've put together, so between LSC Engineering and the Pro Group. Pro Group in the shape of Romain Poulos is participating yet again in this project after a successful winner that they found and collaborated on the first edition. And LSC Engineering, Samuel Majeros, who's a partner at the company, he has been a coach on the first edition, as I mentioned before. So these two entities now, these two companies have put together a joint call, which is based on 5 different aspects. So just to give you sort of that, it's a broader scope as to where you can send in your ideas. But to give you the headlines, it will be sort of based on sharing economy platforms, positive impact buildings and looking for solutions there and ideas. Selective deconstruction, which is always a problem when deconstructing a building. We mentioned earlier already the construction site. I think it was Rodrigo's question to Leila in the keynote speech part. So that's something where people, if they have ideas, they can submit ideas with regards to that specific sector. And circular concepts for new existing or existing districts to eliminate the very idea of waste. So we talked a lot about waste already, but it's really to sort of get rid of that concept of waste. And any other, so the fifth open point is any other circular ideas are welcome to make a sort of better use of our resources and sustainable living. So, hi Samuel, thank you for joining us.
Hello.
And thank you for once again for being part of this project, this time as a partner. So in the project brief, as we put together the project brief, there was a lot of discussion and focus on the word waste. So that was a focal part of this discussion. So it's really about designing out waste as well, as Leila already mentioned it. Tell us a little bit more about that. What could be solutions in that respect, or kind of ideas that you're looking for?
Mm-hmm. Also, like everyone, thank you for the participation of all the presenters. Thank you to Luxinnovation. And yeah, we are very happy that this time there is a category that is very interesting for us, that we participate as a partner. Last year was head coach in order to help Philip, who was our choice, who won the category. We are an engineering company. We are doing a lot of urban planning, a lot of energy concepts, circular economy concepts. So we are very interested in all kinds of concepts for new buildings or districts, or for helping to refurbish existing ones. And waste, as it was already a discussion today, is very important. That when we plan a new district, that you already think of how can we design out waste, not only during the construction, but during the whole operation of the district. So this is something that that is very important for the future, for the people to really be able to live in a zero waste society. And Luxembourg already developed some strategies on that. So we are very eager to see some concepts for the energy, for the waste in districts, or other kind of ideas or services for like sharing economy platforms and so on. We are very open to anything innovative with our partner pro group.
As we mentioned before, each winner in a category will have the cash prize that is provided by the Ministry of the Economy in the shape of 7,000 euros, but also then the accelerator program and a free 6-month office space in a co-working surrounding. What is it with LSC Engineering, for instance? What do you bring to the table as a partner? What can people expect as participants when the implementation phase for the winner starts?
We will help with development of the service. We are around 350 people in our group. So there is engineers and civil engineers, urban planners, all kinds of engineers with different expertise. Will help you to develop your service. And then I think the biggest one is to give you access to our clients and propose the service to our clients. As an engineering company active in around 15 countries, we have access to some bigger projects. We are also developing some bigger districts or even buildings and so on. And so I think that will be interesting for the startup to have access to these clients to directly find a market.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Samuel. People will be able to download afterwards when our CEO, Sasha Bailey, announces the platform. We'll be able to have a look at the full briefing that you put together with Romain Poulos and then download it and then answer that call. So thank you very much for taking part, and welcome as a partner for the second edition. Thank you, Samuel. So continuing with the challenge at hand, we talked about the category, which is Industry 4.0. For the 4.0 industry category, I hope is still with us. We have Ceratizit as a new partner in the project. And Ceratizit is a company based here in Luxembourg, has, I think, more than 7,000 employees. I came across Ceratizit the first time and was gobsmacked when I found out that actually, if you have a pen that's kind of like being produced by them, but also they produce very sharp knives based on a very specific material. And Laurent Federspiel there is the director for digital and data, and found the challenge really interesting to at various levels, because it's the user interface that they're looking for solutions. But not only that part, it's also for the client relationship, and also looking for solutions based on augmented reality, for instance, which helps become more sustainable and reduce the CO2 level in that term of tryout or production process, and production optimization is also a topic. Welcome, Laurent.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, yes, we can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Cool.
So maybe you could tell us, with your expertise, what the challenges are in becoming more sustainable, and why sort of entering and partnering for this Industry 4.0 category.
Sure, indeed. So yeah, I'm very pleased to be partner of this year's challenge. Industry 4 is typically, if we think about it, a more industrial topic. And since we are an industrial company, we have also a certain responsibility in getting our products much more sustainable, and also to satisfy basically the customer needs. Also, customers are changing their mindset. And we have already done a lot of efforts in recycling, and as we are strong believers that recycling, so that we recycle our material, is key, and they also will reduce dramatically any type of raw material usage, environmental impact, CO2 footprint, and all those things. So it has a real benefit for both our company as well as the customer. The challenge is, of course, in getting this recycled materials, these recycled parts back to our organization. And here we are strong believers that things, also data, so to having the knowledge where are our parts, and also the knowledge of where customers must have and where to bring back those parts, is of course key. And he believes that things of tracking those parts, transportation, logistics, are areas of interest on how to modernize and also bring this much more effective, up to any artificial intelligence or blockchain type ideas. Absolutely welcome to foster this path, to bring all those resources back to the starting point, since we have still to admit that even though there is a possibility to do the recycling, not all of our parts which we sell also finds its way back to our factories. And that's why we have to think about new methods in embracing our customers, and also, I guess, technology. That's why Industry 4.0, in getting this system up and running so that we get more efficient in this area.
So it's really a shout out to sort of Crea-Tech, as we call it, so creatives with technological backgrounds in virtual reality, augmented reality, AI, that might have solutions that can submit ideas.
I guess we are open, starting from any business case, if it's just a theoretical approach on how to do it, up to marketing type or embracing customers via our platforms, because we have a lot of access through electronic ways of media to our customers, up to technology. I guess Industry 4.0 talks on how to make it happen, and to combine all those pieces of puzzles and to make a picture whole of it.
And I mean, I mentioned 7,000 employees, or more than 7,000 employees, so a big structure. What can the winning participant expect, from a partnership with Ceratizit?
Yeah, I guess particularly if we talk about data or Industry 4.0, you always need to have a certain critical mass. So I guess it's easy to get your part back if you just sell it to one customer and you get then your single part back. So you just give him a call, send it back to me. We as an industrial company, we sell to basically worldwide. We have locations on all industrialized countries and continents, and that is, of course, it is getting much trickier to access all the individual end customer which are using and getting our parts. So what is expecting for the winner of this challenge is, of course, that first of all, it is let's say a huge market, a lot of data, a lot of customers. So the challenge is definitely in having this scale up possibility. I mean, it's easy to have a small prototype on a local area, but it's much tougher to scale this on a worldwide scale. And I guess that's also a unique chance, I guess, to the winner to get access to all those, to this world, this network, the data which we have, the infrastructure we have, and also the network which we have all around the globe. And I guess that's, of course, a unique opportunity to test those proposed solutions, products, business ideas of whatever type it might happen, and then to give it a try. So that's basically where we believe we can offer a great partnership.
Well, thank you very much. We are very, very pleased to have you on board for this second edition, and we look forward to, as we later now, by the end of this webinar, when we launch the challenge, to see what ideas are being submitted. And you will obviously be part of the jury as well, so you'll see the ideas coming through. And we look forward to the participants sending their ideas for this Industry 4.0 category specifically. Thank you very much for joining us, Laurent.
Thank you.
So we'll continue with the other categories that we have in our challenges here. So we have fashion and mobility left. For fashion, we have two partners. So Anka Project is joining us again this year on the project, and we have a new partner again. It's a continuation of a partnership of Meng from Polyglobal Advisory, who was a coach in the first edition, who is this year going to be a partner and sort of help use his network, because they're based in Luxembourg, in Milan, in LA, and in Beijing, if I got that correctly. So a huge international network. Good morning, Meng. Thank you for joining us. So maybe, I mean, fashion, we know it's one of the big polluters in terms of
the most, probably
maybe the most polluter. Yeah, exactly. So thank you for joining us, and just tell us sort of quickly an overview of what kind of solutions you're looking for the fashion sector as such, you know.
So a few words before jumping into that. It's been almost like 10 years that I've been, working closely inside the industry, and our firm is very, have a very diversified activity. So we're involved in many different aspects of the industry. We work with the manufacturers, we work with the designers, we work with the brands, and so every day we see more and more of these issues, Dr. Leila laid out before. So we are not really interested in any kind of a greenwash, this kind of talks. So for this challenge, we're very, very honored to be part of this for this second edition. Last edition we were very late to get involved in, but so for this second edition, our call is really looking for new innovative and new innovative ideas of raw materials. I think for fashion, the fabrics, biodegradable fabrics, the dyeing with the natural dyes to color the fabrics. This process are all, a lot of the greenwash of the fashion industry is they talk about, vegan this, vegan that, but in the process of producing those fabrics, those materials, the process is very toxic, coloring process. So we want to see if there are people who are interested or developing and working on new innovative fibers and natural dyes that can provide the alternative coloring solution that is less toxic and polluting. Then we are also looking forward to see some circular fashion design, new systems, new ways of designing the products that involves more sustainable and eco-friendly materials in the process. I think, yeah, that's more. There will be more detailed information in the call. I think all the participants can download later. Yeah.
Thank you, Meng. So maybe just as the reward for the winning participant, what they can expect and when they work together with you in that partnership.
Right. So we're very specialized in two different aspects of the fashion industry: communication and PR, and then also the commercial development of for fashion brands. So through our very strategic placed network, Milan as a fashion capital, LA, where is all the Hollywood stars and celebrities, and then Beijing, it's the Chinese market is also very important for the fashion industry, for the business. So we're able to, as a reward, where if the final winner would be suitable with a kind of to establish a brand, we would be more than happy to represent the brand, a Luxembourgish brand finally, and to help to bring them to the international stage. It will be something we will be extremely proud to do so, and then to cover at least a full year of services to represent them, and then help the brand also to do commercial development, because we work with a lot of multi-brand buyer stores, department stores. So we have all those contacts. When the product is right, innovative, and also sustainable, I think it's something has a lot of potential to work on.
Thank you, Meng. Thank you very much for the explanation and for telling us what awaits the winning participant next year in April if they win the fashion category.
Yeah. We have
Thanks
a lot in the pipe. Okay.
Thanks for participating. Thank you very much, Meng. So we'll move to the last category of the challenge, and to sort of dig deeper there a little bit more. We have one new partner for the challenge and one sort of returning existing partner. Maybe inviting Mr. David Franken to the stage from Accumulux. So we've been in talks with Accumulux about this challenge, and they found it really interesting, and then provided us with a specific brief as well, with topics that are related to mobility and their specific sector of activity. So I'll just pull it up so I don't say anything wrong. So those are sort of relevant work topics that they provide us with. So it's the potential usage of recycled polypropylene copolymers from wide origins. There's 3 points altogether. There's recycling and or reuse solutions from battery parts and production scrap. And the third point is recycling potential for ABS and PC-ABS materials. Good morning, David. Thank you for joining us. And maybe you can explain a bit more that scope sort of for you and why it's worth talking about circular economy and sustainability in that respect.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for the introduction. First of all, sorry for that, but I do not have a camera on the computer I'm on at the time, so I won't be able to show you my face. Sorry for that. Hope you can hear me well, at least. So yeah, I think what you said is perfectly right. Accumulux is involved in plastic injection, especially for for the battery market and automotive. We are already currently using different kinds of recycled materials. We are ourselves recycling our materials and so on. But let's say that what we want to do is to go further with that and bring it to some other levels. So this is really something we're looking forward to go greener, more circular, those kind of things. And with that, we of course want to expand our strategy by using some more recycled materials. Is it polypropylene, but also some other kinds such as ABS, PC-ABS, but also the lead, because for the battery productions, we obviously use lead for lead acid batteries, and this is something we also really want are looking forward to be able to recycle.
Thank you very much. And then just as an answer, so what can the winner expect as a partnership? So it would be obviously that implementation and putting into reality that winning idea with you, with Acumen.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Of course, it still has to be defined, but of course, the first thing will be to work together collaboratively to implement the solutions. We also have the possibility to give access to any kind of support, networking, give access to our facilities, equipments, and so on. Really to be in a way of collaborating together in implementing the idea that would be relevant for us.
Great. Well, thank you very much, and we're really, really pleased to have you on this project this year as well as a new partner, and we're looking forward to receiving plenty of creative ideas from Luxembourg, but from throughout Europe that might help those specific aspects of the challenge. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much. Real pleasure. Thank you to you and all the stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then we'll move on to our next partner for the mobility category. Let's say he's quite seasoned in appearing in webinars and also in sort of the steering committee setups that we had throughout the beginning of this year with the participants. Sébastien Fontaine, who's the lead design or head of design at Goodyear at the headquarters here in Luxembourg, based in Colmar-Berg. And they submitted yet again a challenge on three different, on an axis of three categories for their sort of better future strategy at Goodyear. So I'll ask Sébastien to join us on stage, and we also have a slide specifically that we could pull up for you to make it more visual for you in showing you what we have in store for that specific brief in the mobility category. So it's based on three strands, as I mentioned. Good morning, Sébastien.
Good morning.
We talk about sustainable sourcing, advanced mobility, and responsible operations. So it's about sort of excluding things totally in the one part, so or fully replacing petroleum-derived oils by 2040 for the first category, so that's sustainable tracing, but also in terms of sort of reducing for the advanced mobility. So that's the rolling resistance by 40% and the tire weight by 9%. So there's always a time limit or a goal there by 2025 that would be, and responsible operations. So reduce CO2 emissions, for instance, and energy consumption by 25% by 2023. So that's sort of the shortest timeline and deadline that's coming up the nearest. So maybe tell us a little bit more, what you're looking. I know last year was quite broad. We had sort of mobility schemes with car sharing, car cleaning, or the shoe that we talked about with Philip. What can people submit? You know, I know you're quite open, but maybe you can explain that.
Yeah, first I want to thank you, Luxinnovation, for inviting us one more time to this Circular by Design Challenge. So rethinking mobility in the circular economy is a wide scope, like you mentioned. It's on purpose. We didn't want to block anyone to designing a new wheel, for example. So it's still it can be a product, can be a service, can be anything, of course, linked to mobility. So as you rightly explained, the Better Future framework is really a strategy for Goodyear. So it's linked to what we call bold goals. So it's that every engineer has to focus on in everything he's doing, and these frameworks are all based on what we have to deliver. So I will not go again to these different bold goals. There are a lot of percentage, a lot of numbers, but mainly, especially if you look at the one on the left, sustainable sourcing, we are not looking at, for example, putting bio-based material like food or things like this. We're always looking at waste from food industry, and if possible, it should be local sourcing. We don't want to take bio-based waste from China and then put it in Europe. So it's always, we think, really local sourcing to reduce logistics and transport. On advanced mobility, it's much more on new architectures of products. Can be a new wheel if you want. But for example, in advanced mobility, we have intelligent tires, which can tell the owner to put the right pressure to enhance longevity of tires, because under pressure tires will wear unevenly, so you might use less of the life that could be done with one tire. So today we have tires which are lasting 50% more than previous generations. So when we talk sustainability, circular economy, products which last much longer, products that you don't need to recycle directly, but that maybe you can repair, that you can put another life on it. That's really great. And then on responsible operation is a bit more about process and how we produce using renewable energies, how we transport products. So yeah, basically we invite candidates to be very creative and design the next big thing in mobility.
Thank you, Sebastian. And I think that the partnership from the first edition has also proven that, yeah, the winning participant will have a really strong partner at hand to help them develop their project idea together with you, be that with you at the design studio that can lend a helping hand in shaping that, or let's say the infrastructure around that you have in place at Goodyear. So thank you very much for participating again. Very much looking forward to receiving the ideas for that specific category or challenge within that category as well. Yes, thank you for joining us this morning and for the explanations.
Thanks for the opportunity to participate. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Sebastian. Cheers. Bye-bye. So we've now shown you the partners that actually where there is a partnership implementation possible within the categories. It was important to us to show us what the opportunity would be. So if the winner, the cash prize, the office, and also afterwards the office space that they get, but the cherry on the cake is obviously implementing the project with a strong industrial or manufacturing partner. It's now a pleasure to welcome Martin Charter. Martin is the chair of our jury. Martin was already part of the jury last year and helped put into place this project pretty much from day one, and with his expertise as a circular economy expert, author of books relating to circular economy, but also professor at the UCA, so the University of Creative Arts in London. And welcome back, Martin. It's a great pleasure to have you back again on this project. So I've prepared a few questions for you because it'd be interesting to hear from you your experience on the first edition. As I mentioned, you were driving force in setting up this pilot edition. What was your impression with regards to the quality of ideas that were submitted in first edition?
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, team. And it's great to be back and see the expansion of the initiative. Quite significant expansion actually, in terms of the briefs, etc., etc. So I think we had. I mean, one of the things I've been involved in sort of various juries for these sorts of things. Nothing quite like the Circular by Design Challenge, but often you don't in the first year get particularly good applications, but we certainly had a number of very good applications that came through, from those that were very simple to those that were very complex. I think we ended up with a number of very well-formed ideas that moved through the sort of coaching process.
Yes, sorry, microphone.
Yeah.
You talked about the process. As part of the process, we obviously had those steering committees in place as well. Maybe tell us a little bit more we heard from the participants that they sort of cherished those moments, but from your point of view, how important is that, and what can participants expect from that interaction in a steering committee setup?
Yeah, well, again, I think this is part of the sort of, to me, at least from my experience, the unique process that you guys have put in place in that there is a selection process for now the 15 ideas, and then those 15 get support, and then there's the steering board, as you've mentioned. And really, I think the steering board is always an interesting challenge, because the participants have to succinctly get their ideas and their progress over, which is a challenge in itself. Not having too much or too less, or too little rather. I think what we saw was, the majority of the participants really strongly took on board the comments from the steering board. Some were a little more fixed in their ideas, but that's the nature of the development of some of the ideas. And I think I should bring that point up. What we saw is some sort of quite conceptual ideas, going back to the first question, and some quite well-developed ideas, and I think all are welcomed. So I think a couple of actually just quick points for time, as we know, I know we're time for time, is again, I mean, some of the things that I would, so really, I would say, because I'm the chair of the board of juries, I mean, we've got a very good quality jury program, and actually, I think the inclusion of the sort of challenge owners is really important, and I guess there's a lot of experience and sitting around that metaphorical table. So the jurors make the points not for anything other than trying to support the development of the ideas. They may be a bit tough now and again, but they're to take the ideas forward. And I think a couple of the other things that I would say is that greenwashing has come up a number of times, and absolutely we will see through greenwashing, and customers will see through greenwashing. So any claims that you make in your promotion or sales pitch, if you like, back them up with solid information, and that requires research through your supply chain, and it's generally a key principle in this area, because we've recently seen in France, for example, that even Adidas being held up by the French Advertising Association for misrepresenting claims on its recycled content in its products. So the green claims area is also becoming a big area within the Commission and Europe. And I'd say a number of other ideas: follow the guidance in the applications. They're there for a reason. Stick on point, answer the questions, keep it focused around circularity, but bring in other aspects of sustainability. It is a circularity challenge. It's not a climate change challenge, but there's no harm if you're able to make a proposition around circularity to then look at carbon savings, but the focus is around circularity as the key point. Don't make your concept too complex, because it's very difficult to evaluate those very complex items in the time available. So clear messages, follow the schedule, keep it on point.
I think it's important to say as well that, I mean, the coaching is there for a reason, so we always say it could be early stage ideas. It doesn't need to be the full shabam in terms of answer to a problem. But if we see that there's potential there, or the jury and the partners, then the coaching can help sort of just business advisory, IP questions, design, circular economy, business models. That's what the coaching is there for. So maybe one last question before I jump back to my presentation support, and then hand over to our CEO, Sasha Bailey, for the closing address and the official launch of this competition. Given the European scope of the second edition, what are your expectations for this year?
Well, I hope for a good level of high quality entries from throughout Europe, in the broader definition of Europe. At least from my point of view, unfortunately, UK is not within the European Union, but other players like UK and Norway and others outside the European Union are able to participate. So I also hope that we see variety of different entries from entrepreneurs, inventors, and innovators through to teams within universities. Multidisciplinary teams would be really interesting to us, I think. And I think I would say again, because it was a really important point, and I didn't mention in the last element, a really key thing I think for all of us was how we saw the competition as a personal growth opportunity for a number of the different participants. We certainly saw, at least in one or two instances, there was a point where people, one or two are really struggling, and they push them through it, as was said earlier. They hit those deadlines, and they came out, with a smiling face rather than a sad face. So it's really a great opportunity also for personal growth. And as was said earlier, for fun, build your knowledge, but put in well thought through, proposal documents that follow the form and are on point with circularity.
Thank you very much, Martin. And looking forward to working with you together. And 30 participants, and then another the selected 15 will have a chance to see more of you during the project as the coaching then starts as of next year. Thanks a lot. So just whizzing through the presentation material to get to the right slide. Sorry. There we are. So we talked about the project. So this one was the slide that we stopped on. I'll take a couple of minutes before really then handing over to Sasha. Apologies about the delay, Sasha. So this is the overview, because they're all worth mentioning, because they make the project what it is, and with all the support that we have received. So we have design friends that are joining the project and are part of the jury, IMS Luxembourg as well. Sophie, I know that you have left already because you mentioned that you needed to go, but thank you so much, you and Nancy, for participating. We have science in the mix this year, which is really important, with the Luxembourg Institute of Science and Technology. Lycée des Arts et Métiers, a partner from last year, who gave us great support, who is participating yet again. Thank you, Fabrice and Benoit. Palladium, a new partner for the office space prize. Thank you, Antoine. Office Freilinger, helping us with the IP side of things in terms of coaching, but also afterwards giving a prize that Marco mentioned and setting sort of up IP rights. Sorry, Silver Square for a co-working space prize as well, for a 6-month flex desk. The Luxembourg City Incubator as a new partner for also a 6-month flex desk. That's a bit of a tongue breaker for me to say. As prizes for the winning candidates. Then we have an international network, which we put into place and that we were in touch with, which is really important, obviously, to promote the call beyond our borders at the greater region level and beyond. So very pleased to continue a partnership with Doc 11, the German cluster for creative industries in the Saarland. Generator for that 4-week virtual prize of Accelerator Prize. US-based company that helped with their network in 30 different cities. Secrétariat de la Grande Région for distribution in the greater region around Luxembourg. PCI promoting creative industries, which is a network of more than 40 creative industries clusters in Germany. And the AUEX, which is the Wallonia agency for export, who joins us on this project as well and have been really helpful already in disseminating the information and will continue to do so. So for the youth or student part, we have specific partners in place as well, which are important to mention. So we have ACEL, which is the association of the circle of students from Luxembourg that will also be part of the jury. Important part to do something for youth, but include youth in the project. The Young Entrepreneur in Luxembourg as well will new partner on this project, Service National de la Jeunesse, for cash prize structure for the winners of the youth category, and Vils, we mentioned them already, but specifically also for this category. Up Foundation will be taking care of the coaching for that structure. So here an overview of the prices for the companies, be that European-based companies or people that are in the process or will be in the process of setting up a company. So the cash prize, the accelerator program, the 6-month free office space, the potential partnership deal with one of our partners that we spoke to, the Luxembourg Let's Make It Happen category, very specifically for an anchorage with Luxembourg, 15,000 euros as a cash prize, and then the other 3 prize categories remain the same. For the students, there's a first, second, and third prize. The coaching with the Up Foundation will be 3 times 2 hours. We've reduced it a little bit, bearing in mind that these Applicants might have less time than others because of their schedule at school or at university. Access to makerspace, which is called Base 1, from the SNJ, Service National de la Jeunesse, access to their incubator with additional coaching, and a potential partnership deal, obviously, with the Commune de Wilts. So here, the jury members, that will take, I think, 30 seconds or 33 seconds, because there's 33 of them. Claudine Bettendorfer is joining the jury from Silver Square. Ariane Boudry, Stéphanie Damger, Iris Depoulin, Lynn Didlot, Lia Gilardi, who was part of the webinar earlier, so Josephine Hage, as part of the PCI Promoting Creative Industries Network. The Chamber of Skilled Craft are represented by Anne Majeros, Elke Hartmann, Sophie Oberg, that I mentioned before from IMS Luxembourg, Styliani Parasha, fashion expert here in Luxembourg, Service National de la Jeunesse, specifically for the youth category, Catherine Pastore, who you heard earlier as part of the Luxembourg Let's Make It Happen category, Sarah Vispi is part of ANCA, together with Lynn Didlot, Annabelle Vitry from Design France, Bastien Berg from the Luxembourg City Incubator, Frédéric Biavin from the AWACS, Martin Charter, who you heard earlier, Laurent Federspiel from Ceratizit, you heard him earlier as well, Sébastien Fontaine, equally, Benoît Fortan from the Lycée des Arts et Métiers, David Franken, who we spoke to, Michel Hoffman, young serial entrepreneur, Meng Ji, you heard him for the fashion category, Samuel Majeros, we spoke to him too, Romain Marie from Deloitte, the ASSEL, the Student Association, Lars Potika from Doc 11, Romain Poules from the Pro Group, Serge Quazotti from the IPIL, Fabrice Roth, the headmaster for the Lycée des Arts et Métiers, Pranjul Shah from the University of Luxembourg Incubator, Gaston Traufler from the FEDIL, and Sébastien Zink from the Luxembourg Institute of Science and Technology. It was, we had a chat with Martin already. It was worth mentioning all those people because there was a lot of discussion with those people and in onboarding them, and we are very, very grateful for their support. So without further ado, and apologies again about the time shift in the webinar, I'm very, very pleased to hand the floor to our CEO from Luxinnovation, Sasha Bailey. Welcome, Sasha.
Hi everybody. It's great to be here. And I'm seeing the time, which is getting very close to lunch, and you must be very hungry. So I'm going to keep this very short and not repeat everything that's been said. What I just wanted to underline is that what we're doing here with the Circular by Design Challenge is really part of the core mission of Luxinnovation. Because basically what we are doing as an innovation agency is helping companies to innovate today to be ready for the challenges of the future. The challenges of the future are those of our economy worldwide, and we have to start here in Luxembourg. We have to be competitively sustainable, and we have digital means also to get there. And this is what this is all about. So we're there to stimulate this thinking, to bring out the companies and connect the opportunities that are there between industry and startups, between all the actors in the institutions. And this year we broadened it. We broadened it by involving students, which is absolutely fantastic because they are the thinkers of the future. We've also broadened it by involving other countries, by going into the region beyond Luxembourg, by giving it a European dimension. And I'm really delighted about that too, because it's very clear that Luxembourg cannot address these challenges on its own. So I'd like to really thank the team for having actually thought beyond the dimensions that we're working in and giving it a much larger extension. So it's really going on the right track. It's been absolutely fascinating to listen to all the interventions today, to listen to Leila speak about the different biological and technological production cycles, about the Sustainable Development Goal 12, which is about sustainable consumption and production, the supply chains, traceability, all these issues that we are addressing as Luxinnovation with all our partners and companies in Luxembourg. And this is what the Circular Design Challenge is precisely all about. And it's all basically coming together, and that's fantastic. And we're committed to pursue this over many years ahead. So basically what I'm meant to do now, I think, is open the challenge. So I'm going to skip on repeating all the timelines and that. I think you will have it in all your slides. Anya has explained it very well. And Mark has also mentioned all our partners. And really thank you to you all, because this would not be happening without you. We cannot, as an innovation agency, do it without you. So thank you so much for your engagement, for your interest, for your energy. And this is what really is making this all happen. So basically what I'm meant to do now is invite you to participate to this challenge by clicking on the link, which is now due to appear on your screen. And I think there's going to be much further information about the requirements in each category and the submission forms. And I would like to underline also what the president of the jury, Martin, just said. Really read them carefully. It's important to actually look at the details and be precise about it. You don't want to miss an opportunity because you haven't seen some detail in the submission forms. Then if you have any questions, you're of course welcome to contact our team at Luxinnovation. There's Mark, Anya here online, who again I'd like to thank very much. I am very, very proud of you for what you're doing. So please do not hesitate, all of you, to reach out to them. They are there for you. So I think now we're ready, and I can now declare the call for applications of the second edition of the Circular by Design Challenge to be open. And I wish you all great luck. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sasha, and thank you for all your support. And it's really been, I think I could say that it's been a really Luxinnovation project with all the departments that I've worked together, that we've consulted to build this second edition. And yes, now we're very lucky. Now it's up to the creatives across Europe and to the students to send in their ideas. So the link was on screen, as Sasha mentioned. So click on it and have a look at the briefs. And then another thank you from my part for the jury members that we have for this year's edition and all our partners. And that was it from my part. So we maybe put up the slide with the contact details for Anya and myself. So if you have any further questions, don't hesitate. I'll let you take maybe a picture to send us an email and ask your questions. We're there to support you and to answer any possible questions. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you very much, Sasha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy your lunch, and looking forward to receiving your ideas.
Thank you.